Your 800 credit score proves one thing. You're excellent at paying interest. And that's exactly the problem. You've spent years proving you're reliable at owing money, not building it. The financial system rewards you for being in debt efficiently. High score, low balance, perfect payment history. You've mastered the art of managing liabilities while your actual wealth stays flat. The same behaviors that build your credit score often prevent you from building assets. And if you don't understand the difference, you'll spend the next decade paying interest on things that depreciate while watching your financially reckless friends buy real estate. This isn't about ignoring your credit. It's about understanding what it actually measures and what it doesn't. Hit subscribe. You're about to see your financial strategy completely differently, and you'll want the rest of this series. Credit scores didn't used to be something people checked obsessively. Now they're monitored like stock portfolios. Apps send notifications when your score moves 5 points. You get a rush when you hit 800. It feels like progress. That feeling is by design. The credit scoring system has turned debt management into a game with clear rules and visible progress. Keep your credit utilization under 30%. Never miss a payment. Age your accounts. The dopamine hit from watching that number climb is real, and it's redirecting your financial energy toward the wrong objective. Here's how this plays out in actual behavior. Someone pays off their car loan early. Smart move, right? Except they panic when their score drops 12 points because they closed an installment account. So next time, they keep the loan open, paying interest they don't need to pay, just to maintain the mix of credit types. Another person keeps 3 credit cards they never use, cards with annual fees, because closing them would hurt their average account age. They're bleeding $200 a year to protect a metric that has nothing to do with their bank account balance. Someone else finances furniture at 0% interest. They don't need the financing, they have the cash, but they've read that installment debt is good for score diversity. So they tie up capital in a payment plan for a couch. Optimization theater disguised as financial strategy. The system trains you to think like a borrower, not a wealth builder. Every decision gets filtered through one question: how will this affect my score? Not, how will this affect my net worth? You're winning the credit game, but losing the net worth war. Let's talk about what excellent credit actually looks like in a bank statement. Most people with scores above 780 aren't debt-free, they're debt-efficient. They've got a $480 car payment on a 5-year note at 4.2%, a $160 monthly furniture plan they opened because the store offered 18 months interest-free, a $95 payment on the latest iPhone through their carrier, maybe a $140 Best Buy card for the new TV and sound system. None of these are disasters. The interest rates are reasonable. The payments are manageable. Credit bureaus love this profile: multiple account types, low utilization, consistent payment history. Your score reflects perfectly managed obligation. Added up, that's $875 per month walking out the door before we even count the mortgage or student loans. Now run a different scenario. Take that same $875, redirect it into a boring S&P 500 index fund. Assume the market's historical average return of around 10% annually. Over 10 years, you're looking at roughly $180,000. Not from some complicated strategy, just from not having those payments. Extended to 20 years, that number becomes approximately $660,000. But here's where it gets heavier. Most people keep this payment lifestyle going for their entire working life. The car gets paid off, then replaced with another financed car. The furniture plan ends, but there's always another 0% offer. The phone payment is permanent now. Carriers designed it that way. If you maintain this pattern from age 30 to 60, rotating through similar monthly obligations while keeping that excellent credit score polished, the opportunity cost crosses $1.2 million.
Money that could have been compounding instead went to things that depreciated or were consumed years ago. Your 800 credit score just cost you $1.2 million in retirement wealth. A credit score measures one thing with precision: how safely a bank can lend to you. It's built on 5 factors. Payment history, have you paid on time? Credit utilization, are you using your available credit responsibly? Length of credit history, have you been borrowing long enough to establish patterns? Credit mix, do you handle different types of debt? New credit, are you opening accounts at a sustainable pace? Notice what's missing: assets, savings, investment portfolio value, cash flow from income-producing property, equity ownership, liquidity. You could have $400,000 in a brokerage account, own a paid-off rental property generating $2,000 a month, and keep 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. And none of that moves your credit score, because none of that involves borrowing money. Meanwhile, someone with $8,000 in checking, no investments, and 5 credit cards they rotate strategically to keep utilization at 28% can have a score 40 points higher than yours. The system isn't measuring financial strength. It's measuring predictable debt servicing behavior. Banks profit from reliable borrowers, not wealthy ones. A customer who pays off their balance in full every month and never finances anything is low value. A customer who maintains a mortgage, a car loan, and revolving credit, paying every bill on time, never defaulting, generating interest every month for 30 years, that's the ideal profile. Your excellent credit score signals that you're an excellent revenue source. It says you can handle debt load without collapsing. It doesn't say you're building wealth. It says you're sustainable as a borrower. Financial independence comes from eliminating the need to borrow. Credit scoring systems are designed around the opposite assumption, that you'll always need access to credit, and the goal is managing it well. Those are fundamentally different directions.
High credit limits feel like protection. Combined availability across cards might total $60,000, $80,000, sometimes more. It sits there like a cushion, unused but accessible. People treat it as financial security. It's not security, it's pre-approved debt. Here's how the illusion breaks. You lose your job. Severance covers 2 months if you're lucky. You've got a mortgage, car payment, insurance, utilities. Your credit score is 810. Your credit card limits total $70,000. Your savings has $4,200. Month 3 arrives. The mortgage is due. You don't have it in cash, but you have access to credit, so you pay it with a card. You tell yourself it's temporary, just until the new job starts. The interest rate is 18.9%, but you'll pay it off quickly. Month 4, still interviewing. Another $3,800 goes on the cards for basic expenses. Month 5, you get an offer, but the salary is lower than before, and there's a 2-week delay before the first paycheck. You're now $12,000 deep in credit card debt. The new job starts. Your income barely covers your old standard of living plus minimum payments on the new balance. The debt that was supposed to be temporary is now structural. You're paying $190 a month in interest alone, and the principal barely moves. This scenario doesn't happen because of bad credit. It happens because credit replaced cash reserves. Someone with a 720 score and $25,000 in an emergency fund survives the same job loss without adding a dollar of debt. Someone with an 820 score and $4,000 in savings ends up in a balance they'll carry for years. A credit limit is not a safety net. It's a loan waiting for a crisis.
None of this means ignore your credit score. It means understand what you're optimizing for. Credit is a tool. Used correctly, it accelerates wealth. Mortgage leverage on appreciating real estate, business financing that generates more revenue than it costs, strategic debt that creates cash flow. But those uses require a foundation first. That foundation is liquidity and ownership. Build cash reserves that cover 6 months of expenses, not because it's conventional advice, but because it eliminates forced decisions. When you have liquidity, you don't finance emergencies. You don't take the first job offer out of desperation. You negotiate from position, not need. Focus on asset accumulation before debt optimization. Max out retirement contributions. Build a taxable brokerage account. Acquire equity in things that appreciate or produce income. A $50,000 investment portfolio does more for your financial independence than a perfect credit mix ever will. When you do use credit, the question isn't, will this help my score? It's, does this purchase produce more value than it costs? A mortgage at 6.5% on a property that appreciates and generates rental income above the payment, that's leverage. A car loan at 5% on a depreciating asset you could buy with cash, that's expense with extra steps. The shift is from approval seeking to ownership building. Credit scores matter when you need access to capital, but people who've built actual wealth rarely worry about their score because they're not dependent on borrowed money to function. Financial success isn't a number that measures how well you manage debt. It's the point where you no longer need to manage debt at all, where your assets generate enough that credit becomes optional, not essential. Your credit score will reflect your behavior, but your net worth will reflect your priorities. Choose accordingly.
The credit score is the middle-class participation trophy. It feels good, but it doesn't pay the bills in retirement. Build assets, not debt capacity. If this video challenged the way you think about your money, hit the like button so the algorithm shows this to someone else who needs to wake up. See you in the next one.